Cloud. Okay. Hi,
Right.
everybody. Hello. Welcome to the third episode of Catching Up, the second series, the second round. Before we get started, I would just like to thank the OAC, Ontario Art Council, for providing us the funding to keep up with the program. I would like to really thank our guest today, Rana Miresekandari, who is joining us from Toronto, and everybody else who's here joining us. It's great to have you all. And as I said, today's guest is Rana. I have a very special place in my heart and a lot of respect for Rana. Um, we've graduated from the same program. We've been co-workers, and I love her work. And we at Metal figured that she would make a great guest. So I hope that today is going to go well and you're all going to enjoy it. I'm sure you will. I forgot one more acknowledgement, which is to thank all the other members at Metal because I'm the only one that gets in front of the camera. People think it's just me. There is a whole bunch of other people, including Lindsay McDonald, Kim Paquette, Louise Peroni, and Andre Franklin, who is our latest member behind the scenes that make everything go and make everything happen. So thank you to everybody for all your hard work. And it's going to go back to Rana. Hi, Rana.
Hi. Thank you, Pasha, for the kind words.
You're
Feelings
welcome.
mutual for sure.
I
Thank
really
you.
love and respect you and your work. And I'm grateful that you're here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes. So I just gave a very brief description about Rana. I just said that it was a very personal explanation of Rana, but I will hand it off to Rana to maybe give us a bit information about your past, about maybe your whatever adventures or endeavors you want to talk about. We're all here to listen. So I let you take the podium and I'm going to go on to, and then whenever you were ready to share your
Okay.
screen, then we can go ahead with that. And then I might jump in here and there and ask some questions. And if anybody in the audience has any questions, please type it in. Either one of us, I'm here, Andre's here, Lindsay's here, and either one of us will check out the questions and then um, relay it to Rana to get some answers. Thank you, everybody. And I'm gonna let you take the stage, Rana.
Okay. Take the stage. All right. Well, I started my jewelry journey in 2016, but before that, I've been doing a whole bunch of other things. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. So I came to Canada in 2002. I immigrated from Iran with my family. And I'd studied accounting back in Iran. But as you probably know, we don't really get a lot of choice in what we study.
Yes.
Get into something, you either do it or someone else will gladly take it. So I had to study accounting and I did. But when I came here, I figured, you can try different things here and figure it out. I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do, but I knew I really loved photography and I'd been playing music since I was a kid. And I always wanted to kind of pursue that, but it's really not a choice back there to become, especially as a woman, to become a professional musician. It wasn't really the safest or the best choice. So I never really considered it that way. But when I came here, all of those were options. So but then, I wanted to get some experience here in Canada. I wanted to, work and get my English to work a little bit better than it was. So I started working, odd jobs. I was working at McDonald's for a while. I did, I sold shoes, worked at the bank, but at the same time, I was taking photography classes at Ryerson, continuing education. I really loved that. And then I was taking music lessons, kind of figuring everything out. And my husband was back home. It was a long distance thing. So when he came here and we got married, I was working full time. So everything was kind of on the back burner, on the back of my mind. But then when he finished and he got a job that, could support both of us, then I started studying music. at university. So that was interesting. We were in Sudbury then,
Okay.
a small city.
And where did you go to school for music?
So at Laurentian University, that music program is closed now.
Okay. Oh, it is.
Yeah, Laurentian actually closed down over 50 programs a couple
Oh
of years.
no.
They were in trouble, and music definitely is the first thing to go.
So sad that those programs are always the ones to go
Yeah, yeah,
first. Yeah.
unfortunately. But it was really nice because it was a small program. It was kind of like a family. And it gave me a chance to kind of, get better. And then I was still deciding, I really loved it, but a small community never gives you an idea of what the real world is like.
Sure.
So I went for my master's. I played the flute, so it was in flute performance. I went for my master's to Ottawa, and that really gave me a much better idea
Yes.
of everything. And when you're studying music performance, there's a lot of anxiety. It's
Of course.
you're performing live, and all those years, my childhood, that I was like kind of romanticizing the idea of becoming a musician just because I was musically talented.
Yeah.
No one really told me that you have to have the personality for it too. Like it's not just because you're talented and you can play well, you can become a musician. Becoming a musician, it means that you have to have the personality where you go on stage and you love being on, in the spotlight. And if a mistake happens, you have to be able to let it go right away, continue. I'm not like that. Mistake happens, my mind is like
You're not. Yes.
over analyzing, and it
I
was just
can relate. Yes.
yeah, and it gets better over time. Everybody kind of experiences that, but for me, it never got to the point where I was comfortable and I could enjoy it. And
Yeah.
it just became a source of anxiety, like constant anxiety. And when I was getting ready for my final recital, which is like an hour-long recital that you do in public, there's a jury, and it's like the most difficult thing that you ever or ever written
Sure.
for.
It's like the last level. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was preparing for that, and you really work like for months and months prior, and you do like performances in front of friends. And Allison is actually a friend of mine from that era.
Oh, okay. That's nice. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah. So I started knitting and crocheting because it really calmed me down. I don't know how I got into that, to be honest,
Okay.
but YouTube rabbit hole or
Yeah,
something.
probably. Okay.
Yeah, and then I picked it up. It's so funny. As a kid, they made us do that in school in Iran, and I hated
Yeah.
it. My grandma did my knitting projects.
Oh, okay.
Here,
Yeah.
I was like, I really started enjoying it, and crocheting. It just took my mind off. And then, the memories come back. And when your back is kind of against the wall, you have to decide. I was in my early 30s at that point, and I was still deciding, is this for me? And I was really realizing that, solo performance music is really not for me, but it's hard to admit that. I was teaching music, which I continued for quite a few years, up until last year, actually, and I quite enjoyed that. And I really love playing in an orchestra or a smaller group where, there's a support system. I still do that and I love it. But as a career, that wasn't going to work out for me. So I started thinking, okay, so I seem to love working with my hands, and that really calms me down. And, you think about your personality traits. Like I really loved playing with Legos as a kid.
Yeah.
And
Same.
it wasn't like Lego back then when I was growing up. I'm really aging myself, but it's true. Like it wasn't like, oh, here's the thing you're making and here are the pieces. It's like a
Yeah.
bucket of Legos, go crazy.
Sure.
So I'd spend hours and hours and hours with those things. I loved it. And then I loved doing jigsaw puzzles. All those things started to come together, and I started thinking, okay, what would fit those personality traits really well? And everything pointed to jewelry. So I started thinking about that before I graduated from my master's actually, but it was kind of just thoughts. But I was so lucky when we moved to Toronto after I was done and I started teaching and everything. I met a dear jewelry friend. Her name is Marjane Ami.
Yes.
I
She
met
also went to
through the
Joe.
party,
Yes.
complete freak. I don't know how that happened, but she just finished the jewelry program at George Brown. And we started talking, and I told her everything that I just told you. And she's like, I really think that program would be great for you. So we actually met up after that. She looked at my portfolio back then. We had to do a portfolio. to get into the arts program. They took that away. I don't know why, but she gave me a lot of feedback. So she really encouraged me and I applied and I started. And honestly, that first day sitting at the bench, I was like, okay, this feels like
It's like, yeah, feels like home. Yes,
yeah.
I know that.
And yeah, it feels like that ever since.
That's
Yeah,
great.
so that's how I got into it. I did the Jewellery Arts program, the 3-year program, and then I stayed an extra year as a designer in residence.
Right. At the studios, yeah.
We had that back then. Don't have that anymore, but we helped out with classes and we had access to the studio. We could continue developing our stuff. And at that year, I mean, when I was in my 3rd year, I applied for the De Beers Award, the Shining Light Awards,
Mhm.
which is going on now. I think applications are open now for it. It happens every 2 years.
Right,
And
yes.
started the DIR. I knew that I was one of the finalists, one of the 3 from Canada, and that was exciting. So we got to go to
Yeah,
Botswana and all of that. That was amazing, and that opened up a whole, you know, other route for
of
me
course.
about later. And yeah, so then at the end of my DIR, COVID hit.
Yes.
And everything came to a stall. I was lucky that I kind of got to finish that whole thing. We only had a month or so. It was in March when we were kicked
Right,
out.
yeah, yeah. I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, that one day, studios are closed, get out of here. It was like really frantic. It was crazy. But anyway, I had nowhere to go. I had nothing to do. And I started, I learned how to do a website and I kind of like I did the business setup. Everything happened then because, that was the time. And yeah, so that I just set up my business, Rana M Designs, and did the website, and I started making like crazy. I didn't care.
That's what happens.
Likes it, anybody even sees it. I just started making and sharing on social media. That's all I did that year. It's a horrible thing to say, but COVID year was one of the best years.
Yes, I know. It was one of the best years for a lot of us makers. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So
Um, yeah.
yeah. And I kept teaching music. It was all online and I made stuff. And then after so that year, the whole thing went online at
Right.
George Brown, and I
Yes.
wasn't involved. But the year after, when everything started to come back kind of halfway,
Yeah, it was a hybrid system.
at that system, then I came back um, as a studio assistant, and then I started teaching gem setting, and the year after I started teaching metal finishing, and then
What year were you employed by George Brown?
I was at 21,
2021. So just the year that COVID
22.
hit.
Yeah, so
Like,
2020 was when COVID hit.
yes, sorry, yes. That
2021, that year was all online, so I wasn't involved. The year after that,
okay.
yeah.
Um, I have a one comment and a question actually for you before we move on to your slideshow. So when you said, I also forget to mention that part of my love and respect for Rana comes from the fact that we share the same motherland. So
Yeah.
we often talk about Iran a lot. And she mentioned that we had not a lot of choices when it came to university. And for those of you who don't know, Iran goes by we call it the concours system. I guess it's a French word that basically you have to write a giant exam and Rana, correct me if I'm wrong at any point because this is so long ago. And then based on your score that you get to pick what falls into that score. So you don't really have, it's not like here where you can go and freely, I don't know if things have changed now, but I think it's
I don't
still the
know
same.
either. I feel like it might have changed a little bit. When we were growing up, there were a lot of kids our age, so the competition was insane. Now I
Yeah.
don't think it's like that anymore.
I think it's gotten maybe a little bit better, but that's in terms of because it's really hard to kind of explain that, especially for both of us being in the education world and try to understand to people that not to say how good you have it here, but like a lot of people in other parts of the world don't have these options that you just get up one day and say, because this is something that I think about. I was lucky enough to come here after high school. So I had the option of going to art school here and then going and continuing on in design. But I always thought about the fact that if I stayed in Iran, because I'm not sure if you were willingly going for accounting. Like, is that something that you wanted? No,
I
okay.
didn't even want to put it as one of my choices. My father is an accountant, very successful, and so is my mom.
So
He said,
I've
"Just put it in there for me." Just, we had to choose 100 different things, and depending on the score, you would. And I put it in as a 30 something. Uh, it was like in the middle there, and that's what I got into.
That's what, yeah. Because I often think about me also hearing your story. I'm always, we talked about this the other day, that I'm always also interested in people's stories of how they got to, because goldsmithing and jewelry making is really not a program that your parents are gonna like
No,
encourage you to go to, right? So most likely you were either very interested or it came from within the family business. Like most of our students either come willingly.
yeah, a lot of
Nobody
people
says my
have.
parents wanted me to goldsmithing, you know, my parents wanted me to be a jeweler. It's just, it's either within the family or it's not. So I always wonder about this, that if I also had to kind of forcibly study something else, would I have circled back? Because I also went to school when I was a mature student. I was 29 when I applied to go to goldsmithing. So I was kind of the oldest person in my program. But in another way, find it, especially with people like yourself and me, and even Majane, that you mentioned, is that by that time, you're so ready and you have developed that part of your behavior that knows what you want, where you want to be. You're not looking for validation from your parents and your friends and your colleagues and whatever. You're doing this for yourself. And that's often really heartwarming to see the success stories behind it. That you're seeing that the first day that you sat at your bench and you were like, this is home.
You instantly know because you've been through so many different things and experiences that you would know right away if it's for you or not. And it was a really good feeling. Yeah, you're right. And we have a lot of people in our program who have come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
People who are successful, not to call myself successful, but are often ones who have life experience in a
Yeah.
way.
But for me right now, to be honest, success is such a derogatory term. But for me, in the matter in this context, success is somebody that left the program as is still is in the field, whether it's teaching, whether it's making, whether it's going to shows. Because oftentimes also a lot of people leave the program so they don't have the right funding, they don't have the right connections. Studio right now is very expensive, materials very expensive. So oftentimes people have to get another job. And what I find happens is that they're just so overworked with that job that they slowly drift away from the field, even if they don't want to. So success is really for me at this context of this conversation is somebody like you who started at maybe a later sort of milestone kind of or later age, say it, as opposed to studying it in your like teens or your 20s. But then because you're so set on it and you're so sort of dedicated. And because for me, I always compared myself as like Harry Potter going to Hogwarts when I was going to George Brown. I was like, it's not school, it's just like everything is so exciting and so like it's all senses, it's making fire, melting stuff. Like it was all so exciting. So, and I noticed how you feel too. So hearing that when you said first day behind the bench was just like I felt at home. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's so refreshing, that feeling. I want that feeling again. Like I would not exchange it with anything else.
I
Being like,
know, right?
yes, I'm at the right spot.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I love hearing those stories, especially, and I also feel like your music background is very interesting how, because all of these things kind of interlink and
Yeah,
interchange.
yeah, like everything
So
led my life here. And you know what, with teaching, that can be stressful, but anytime that I'm stressed about anything, I think, that music experience put me out of my comfort zone so much that it's
yeah,
like, I've done that, I can do anything. Any
yeah,
stress
exactly.
comes, I'm like, I've went through that. Nothing
Exactly. No, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. That was really great.
Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, I could listen to you for days. So again,
I
you
go off
can.
on a tangent, so stop me if
No, I will. That's why I'm here. I also go on a lot of tangents, so I feel like this is a good two-way road. We can stop each other. And I think I have made you. admin so you can share
I
your
can share.
screen whenever you were ready.
Where am I? Can you guys see?
Yep,
Okay.
it's loading. It says Rana has, yeah, there you go.
Is it?
Almost.
All right. Let me just put it in. All right. How's that?
That's perfect. I'm
Okay.
also gonna turn my camera off so I'm not distracting, but I'm right here.
Okay. So I did this kind of chronological at the beginning. None of these are masterpieces, but it's just to show how much you can learn in such a
I
short.
think they're masterpieces. Don't sell yourself short. For
That's
for a first year, it's definitely a masterpiece. What are you talking about?
no, but
Sorry. Go on.
I was really impressed with the fact that we learned so much in the first year of the program. Like
Yeah.
I knew nothing about metalsmithing at all, and I could do a lot of things at the end of first. Um, So I did the courses, and then in the spring of after the first year ended, the spring course that I took was the decorative techniques.
Okay.
And a lot of these, I mean, we learned the basic skills and then decorative techniques like roller printing, as you can see, these are leaves roller printed or filigree, things like that really brings out your imagination. You have the skills and then you can really put it to use. So I really enjoyed that course. And a lot of these are made at the end of first year. This was a cuttlefish casting,
Oh yeah.
ancient technique. I love that. That texture comes from the cuttle bone, actually. That was a project that I did for my first year, and then at the end, I cut off the center and I soldered all that. So I did a lot of experimenting.
Okay.
And then in second year, just the continuation of that, I just really love playing with texture and color and putting different things together. Nothing I make is like super simple. I don't know where that comes from, but this always has to be like layers and texture and so I did a lot of roller printing again, oxidizing, reticulation here with that texture on the back. And putting things together where there's a lot of different components, and then you have to oxidize the part, you have to make sure nothing else gets damaged and all of that. So I really enjoyed working with those. In second year, we also learned some production techniques like etching, and these pieces came from that. And then at the end of second year, I made this for a competition, the Bocaro competition. I don't know if that's still going on. I haven't heard about it in a while, but the theme was Starry Night.
Yes, I remember that.
And this was supposed to be so my first camping experience was at Killarney,
Oh, okay.
camping, and this is supposed to be the view from a tent.
Okay.
And that's the Starry Night.
I must say this has a very Canadiana feel to it, and it's one of my favorite pieces you've ever made. Every time I see it, it just gives me a very comfortable wintry starry night in, or
Mm,
not even wintry, sorry, I don't know why I said wintry, but it definitely encapsulates that whatever you were trying to show.
thank you. Yeah,
And
I was
that's,
proud of this one because everything about this is fabricated.
oh wow, okay. I was
And
gonna ask you
silver
if
sheet.
the border is gold, right?
Yeah, this is gold. I even made the gold sheet out of a gold coin I had. So I
Oh
did that.
wow.
And like I was really proud that every single aspect of this is
It's so beautiful. It shows because it's and also the layering. I just love layering and how you've created a lot of depth there with just layering pretty much three sheets, right? It's the back sheet
yeah.
and then that's two layers of trees, right?
All together. Yeah, yeah. So that's another
Yeah,
layer.
it's stunning. It really is.
And then yeah. This is cuttlefish cast. I guess that's the only cast
At the
part.
bottom, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that, and I have good pictures. I'm thinking about taking it apart actually,
Do
because
not do that. You did you say you're gonna take it apart? The
yeah,
no, don't do that. Who why?
I don't know what am I gonna do with it.
No, keep honestly, if I had this, I would even just frame it and put it on the wall. It's such a piece of art. It's definitely honestly, does not anybody else agree with me? Hold on, let me just go to the chat.
No, no,
Let's
I like
discuss
it,
this
and I
more.
said I'm proud of it, but it's really heavy. It's a big piece. It's not as functional. So as a jewelry piece, I don't know. I have pictures of it,
Okay,
right?
fine, fine. I will allow it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, so then we get to the third year, which is thesis year. For those of you who don't know, in the third year of our program, we pick a subject, and then our whole year, we create pieces based on that subject. And my theme was Persian tribal carpets. Well, I say Persian, but it's not necessarily, because all of that region, the Caucasus coming all the way down, parts of Turkey, and then Iran, and then Afghanistan, all of that region, they all share kind of the same, very similar motifs. But a lot of them are Persian because, you know, we grew up with it. We had the carpets in our home, and ever since I was a kid, I was really fascinated by them. So the motifs tend to be really geometric, really primitive. And that's what I chose. So for my thesis, we did a brooch, which is a tulip, and the ring we had to do. And these are also mostly, this is mostly fabricated. That head is cast. This here is a center medallion of some of the carpets. There's a debate about what it is. It could be a spider or a beetle. I've found different things and can't really know, but it is a creature for sure. And then these are just border patterns in a necklace that we did. And then our companion piece, so these earrings were companions to this necklace that we had to design. And then my production series were these bracelets that are really simple, done in CAD. I just attached the back to it, and I made the laser cut the leather bands, and that's my thesis here. But then after, I just continued with this because I think I did a lot of experimenting with textures and, you know, curves and everything first and second year, and I really loved that. But the geometric thing really, like, it really stayed with me, and I wanted to continue
Yes.
that. So I kind of broke this down into different parts of, you know, what you find on the carpet. So the border patterns are usually, as you can see here, repeated all the way around.
Mhm.
And I read somewhere, it's a good source that says the border patterns on tribal carpets especially is supposed to protect the people who sit on the carpet. So that concept really kind of stayed with me, and I love using the border patterns. So these pieces, this is my my husband's wedding bands, but I want to do more these
Wow.
patterns because they lend themselves to rings, I think, more.
Sure.
And this is another pattern, it's a bird head pattern, and you know, the protection aspect, I kind of did it in a 3D way, kind
Oh,
of
wow. Okay.
in there. These earrings are at the earring show right now.
It's so much more interesting when you hear the stories and the concepts of, you know, like the protection thing that you said. And was there a specific reason why you chose the color red for that middle piece?
Not really, no. I knew I wanted to oxidize the back of this and the top shiny. I wanted to do that, and then I tried different beads, and everything else wasn't as visible.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense
This
because
is
it's
really
popping.
bright red. It doesn't really show well in this picture, but it's a coral bead. It's a dye.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, but you know, I did another version which was depletion gilded at the back. So
Yes.
white, and then shiny, and then I put a black bead on the inside. But
Yes.
there was no significance for the color. It's just the combination. I like red, white, and
Okay. Yeah, it is always a great combination.
yeah. So yeah, the 3D also, I want to do more. I really enjoy doing that. It's really expensive to produce that.
Yes, of course.
So we have to figure out better ways. Fabricating that with the pattern would be a challenge for sure. But this is 3D modeled. That's the only way I found that I could really make it happen. But it's something on the back of my mind to do more 3D shapes,
3D shapes, yeah.
fabric, maybe.
Volumized, yeah.
Yeah. And then, so these are more like the patterns that you find, floral patterns. And then one motif that really spoke to me was a cypress tree. This one is an example of it, but there are many different ones, and it represents life. Also, I like using motifs that I kind of know what the meaning is,
The
or
meaning is, yeah, sure.
so that adds another layer. It's really difficult to
Yes.
find it out because, you know,
Yes.
tribal, it's handed down, you know, generation to generation, so it's hard to know.
Yeah.
But the ones like it's representing life, so that's nice. It's positive, and I really like the the geometric shape. I again tried my hand at the 3D aspect there. Those were one of my favorites. It's really difficult to clean the inside, but I
course.
did my best.
I'm writing down. There's a lot of questions coming your way, so be prepared.
Oh, okay. I hope I can answer. Then there are the flowers, you don't have to really think about the meaning, really. They're flowers. So nomads, when they travel from, the different regions, they always take inspiration from their surroundings. So there are a lot of animals and there are a lot of floral motifs on the carpets.
Yes.
And what I love about these carpets, especially, as opposed to the city carpets, which are really structured and masterpieces of art, really,
Yeah.
but these ones are, kind of spontaneous. Like the weaver just sits down and weaves whatever she likes,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know? That's one of the other things that I love about them. So this was inspired by the carnation border. This carnation border you can see in a lot of Persian carpets. I don't know if you recognize it, Pasha, but I think we've all seen it. If you're familiar with Persian carpets, they usually have this flower border.
Yes, they do.
And that was my 3D representation.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Oh, right. That makes total sense.
this flower down here.
Yes, I just saw it.
Yeah, so I did different things with this shape. But yeah, I really like how, flat facets as opposed to curved surfaces
Yeah.
reflect light in a very different way. So it kind of looks black and white in a way. And sometimes when I show someone a picture, not this picture specifically, but sometimes when you see some of them are completely black, some of them are completely gold, they
Gold. Yeah, sure.
actually enamel or color.
Yeah.
Tell them, no, that's just the way light hits it. And then they say, well, you should take a picture that it shows that. I'm like, no, well, when you wear it looks
Yeah, sure.
like that too. Black and white when you wear it.
Yes.
It's not like
I
so
don't even want to know how you clean that. I'm not even gonna ask. Yeah.
yeah, it's masochism, I think.
Like if you're in the goldsmithing industry, or if you're a jeweler in any way and have ever cleaned anything, this will be your absolute nightmare to
Yeah.
clean.
Maybe podcast helps.
Sorry?
A good
Podcast? Yes, of course.
something. Yeah, no, it's definitely time consuming to clean something like, and I cleaned this up and then I soldered these on. If this
Yeah.
is the way, there's no way to clean that up. So that's another thing, it brings up the whole CAD versus fabrication discussion.
Mhm.
Um, and I think CAD is great, but for me, superior finishing is number one priority. So
Yes.
if I can clean it up, then I do it in CAD. I have no problem with that. I'm not ashamed to say it. But oftentimes, like if you did that in one piece, there's no way you could clean that up. So you would have to like think about finishing when you're designing things, and then when you put it together, you can actually achieve the finish that you want. So
Absolutely 100% agree with you. Actually, hold on. Can I ask one of my questions before you go
yeah,
on? Because I feel like it's related. Because I'm actually happy that this worked out that you came after shopping because Xiao is a huge advocate of handmade and he's a huge no-no with cat work. And he always brings it up and he always makes a point about it. And as much as I agree in some ways with him, I also 100% agree with you because, and now this goes back to my question, because you also do geometric work,
yeah.
a lot of geometric work. And I myself started by geometric work and I still do a lot of geometric work. And that was my question, like how hard was it to fabricate geometric, um, almost kind of what do you call it?
Yeah.
Symmetrical pattern because I was looking at your ring and I was like, that ring is a bit of a nightmare to make. And then
This one?
extremely, yes.
Um,
Yes.
okay, so this one, it was, okay, so the only parts that were CAD in this,
Yeah.
your model were the legs, these guys.
Yes.
Everything else was fabricated, so that
That's
I had to
yeah.
cut from a sheet of gold. That I had to hand cut. But you know what? Another piece of technology that helped. I actually I used laser to lay out
Your lay. Okay, sure, yeah.
wall, and
Yeah.
then I could cut around it. Still, you have to cut it by hand and do all that, but that helped to lay it out really cleanly. Um, and then
Because the debate here really is that if somebody's commissioning me to spend that much time, because something like this handmake is gonna take what? Let's say somewhere between.
I don't even know how many hours it took, to be
Well,
honest.
it took all of us when you were students a lot longer than now that we're a little bit more advanced. Like this probably my ring took me somewhere between 30 to 40 hours. I remember when I was at George Brown.
Yeah,
But like now if I have to remake that ring, because it was also all out of scratch, right? We had to make our gold from scratch, blah blah. But
yeah,
let's say something like this will probably take you somewhere between 10 to 15 hours now, right?
yeah, definitely. To cut
Right?
all of those, solder these, solder the tubes, cut the C's for the stones, and
Yeah.
all those tubings, make sure nothing shifts.
Exactly. Setting, cleaning, like cleaning something like this will probably take you a good 3 to 4 hours, I would say,
Oh yeah, yeah,
right? Going inside all the creases. So if people are willing to pay me for that money and you are X or Y, then 100% I'm still willing to do it by hand. But
yeah,
the problem is that also mostly more than anywhere else, I guess, is in Canada, people don't want to pay that much money for jewelry. So what we have to do at the end of the day is that we have to go to CAD and use CAD because our stuff is also so geometric that it's going to take me about 2 or 3 hours to make it, and then it's going to take me another hour and a half to 2 hours to clean it, right? So if you can save on the fact that you can get stuff done with CAD, especially for production,
yeah. Well,
then
see, if you do it with CAD, it's easy because if I do that
yeah,
with CAD, I still have to clean up all those lines. I still have
100%.
flat, flat surfaces to polish properly. It takes forever. Like it's still a
Yeah,
lot of work to be done by hand when you do things by CAD. People kind
yeah.
of have conception that if it's CAD, then it's,
And then it's not, no,
easier.
well,
No.
that's the thing. That's the part that I'm saying. Like, it's not that CAD is making you a finished piece of jewelry and then you're giving it to your client. I'm getting pieces done, but like if I have a, let's say I have a very intricate setting for a triangular stone, for me to do that by hand is going to take a much longer amount of time, and therefore the amount of the pricing is going to go up. So I'm going to lose a client on it.
Yeah,
So if I can bring the accuracy to a maximum and also my time to a much lesser, not a minimum, but a much lesser time, then why not?
yeah,
That's
exactly.
why these advanced technologies are there for,
For
right?
me, whatever gives you the best result, not the fastest, not
Sure.
the easiest, but the best result
Yes.
in terms of finishing, in terms of accuracy. So like this brooch here, um, this head is cast, it's done in CAD.
Right.
And these tubings are soldered in later. Everything else is cut by hand. And
Yeah.
I don't think I could achieve the result any other way.
Any other way, sure. Now,
If
100%
I
agree
can
with you.
CAD this whole thing as one piece, but there's no way I could finish it. I could polish it. I could oxidize the back like that and leave there. There's a whole bunch of things that I could never do if this was all CAD. So I would never do it. And I've made this brooch a few more times after, and every time I did it that way because the head,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't spend time to do that by hand because
Absolutely not. Yeah, and I agree because it's giving you something, and you nailed it. If it's giving you the best end game, not the fastest, not the cheapest,
yeah,
not the less time, the best. And
yeah,
that best is like you just nailed it. The best product. If it allows me to present the best product possible that I can,
yeah,
given my time, my budget, and my situation,
mhm,
then
yeah,
no problem.
yeah. So I'm not ashamed. I use CAD a lot.
No, as you should. It's one thing, okay, maybe just because sometimes these videos are used for educational purposes, maybe it's a good time to say that once you are at school, I am 100% against cutting shortcuts by using CAD because once you're at school, that's when
Mm,
you're
all the-
realizing how to do everything by hand, right?
yeah,
So it's only after that when if you're going into business and you're using CAD to save your business and make work for a mass audience, or that's not even a mass audience, for your audience, then by all means. I look at CAD almost, I look at the whole process of CAD from designing on Rhino and then printing it and then making it as really an assistant.
Yeah,
I
it's
really see it
tools that
as,
you
yeah,
use. It's one
it's
of the
tools.
many tools that we have that we use whenever it's going to give us a good result. Yeah.
But it's still, as Rana said, it still takes design time. It's still that piece is going to be printed in wax, then you have to take it to the casting house. It has to be casted, then clean up, then probably if you're adding things to it, which mostly we do, it's either a gemstone or whatever, then assembling, like all of that comes in after the CAD work. So it's not just a piece that's being printed by CAD and then you're handing it off to your
Yeah.
client. Thank you. I'm really grateful we talked about this topic.
Yeah, and I'm grateful that I had the chance to say this because a lot of times our students like try to do like the one piece and then they come to me and they're like, so how do I polish that? I'm like, you can't.
Yeah,
Not possible. You didn't think about that when you were designing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, so those earrings, yeah, the polishing, it takes a lot of time, but I love the end result when it works, but not that it always works. Sometimes.
Absolutely, yes. They
But the
look
great thing
awesome.
about doing something like this, as opposed to like the music performance thing, it will always comes back to me. You don't have to present it if it doesn't work out, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Get
Great.
it
Yes.
excited. Uh,
The image on the left hand side at bottom, those are cufflinks or earrings?
Earrings.
Earrings. Okay.
Yeah, those ones I did before I learned how to micropavate. So that's Patrick's work. But everything else that's more recent, I actually do all the
You
setting
do
myself.
all the settings, right?
Yeah. And then we have some animals and human figures.
Right.
Again, no need to explain much. This one here on the bottom right is a symbol. It's a double-headed serpent. And in a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
cases, you just see an S shape.
Yes.
Sometimes they don't have the eyes anymore. That's supposed to ward off the evil eye. That's another thing that I know for sure.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to know. The double-headed figures, you see a lot on the carpets. I haven't been able to figure out why. But it's interesting that in our architecture in Persepolis also you see double-headed
Oh, yeah,
figures.
right.
But why? I don't know. And I haven't been able to. If you go to carpet dealers, they'll give you all sorts of stories, but
Probably, yes.
nothing
They love stories, yes.
nothing concrete. Yeah. So a lot of these are like puzzle pieces. Like I also like putting things together that are on my bench. Like this one here, I had this piece and then these things were lying around. Sometimes they just, together they look like something and you look at it and you're like, oh, you're a thing that wants to be made. Put it together.
Yes, for sure. Why not? That's how you get inspiration, right? From especially these sort
Yeah.
of things.
So like this here, the skirt is actually this shape. And I was making these earrings and
Sorry,
I
which shape again? Oh, the fan looking ones on top. Okay, right.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I
okay.
stamped the back of it and I completely messed it up. So I had
Oh,
to cut off that section and it became a skirt for this.
perfect.
So that happens a lot of my design decisions are based on things that I completely mess up and then I ended up with pieces. But there's no shame in that.
Yeah, absolutely no shame in repurposing things. It's
Uh,
actually a great trait.
yeah, this is another puzzle. This is another puzzle. And then this one here is more recent. I got into setting and I really, I'm becoming a little more adventurous because I did with the De Beers Award, I took Patrick Dackel's setting courses. So I did the
Right.
microwave and I did the center stone course. And then last year, and I want to bring this up just in case any of our metalsmith friends are wondering. I took this online course with Stephen Webb in Australia. His
Oh,
company is Standout Stone Setting, and it was online. Well, we had 4 live sessions, Australian time, so I had to get up at 3:30 a.m.
oh, wow. Okay.
But it was only four nights, no problem.
Okay.
It was incredible. I mean, Patrick's classes are also incredible, highly recommended. But one thing I really liked about Steven's course was that it's really affordable.
Okay.
A little bit about 650. I don't know if it's okay to talk about this. Let me
Yeah,
know.
of course, of course. No, it's great.
It ended up like 650 Canadian. He sent all the settings, all the stones, some tools, and then a lot of videos that I still have access to.
Oh, wow, that's great.
4 live sessions, and he did lecture. He did 2 of the sessions were lectures, 2 of them were feedback sessions. So we would do the setting during the week. We would take pictures, send it, and he would actually we would discuss it in class. It was 10 of us. And it was really incredible, because you do a lot of setting. This was bezel setting and flush setting. Sometimes you don't know why things happen. Like if you look at like a corner, it's not clean and you try different things, the bright cutting isn't working. And it really demystified a lot of those things. He teaches you how to sharpen your gravers properly, and it really is for fine tuning. So I really highly recommend it. If you've already done some setting and you want to refine your work and you want to take out the guesswork, it was really incredible. And he's such a great human.
And that's good that it's online and he sends you everything. So you can just, if you have a bench at home, I'm guessing you can do everything on the, what, just watching the videos.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
you don't have to have a microscope even. It's
Okay.
better if you do,
Okay.
but it wasn't required to have a microscope. So yeah, so I feel more confident to do things like this with 4 square settings next to each other. Before I would say, oh, what if I miss one of them? Then the whole thing is I could check the whole thing. But now
Yeah.
I feel confident to do things like
Okay. Great. Yeah,
it.
because this is all not easy, especially if it's, yeah, sharp corners and setting is not, I'm not very skilled in that department. So when I look at these, I'm just, yeah, it's a lot
Thank
of,
you. Well, let me point out something here. Like, do you see that?
yes,
You hear the corners?
yes.
Not great.
Oh, okay.
But uh,
Well, you
they've got to
know,
be cleaner,
you look at that. Yeah, you learn and then you practice makes perfect. I
Yeah.
also have to make another comment that the just because also Legos, right? Like the Lego approach is very evident in your work when I look at it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I've recently like gotten into that texture. I put it in a lot of my work, but that I never thought of that.
it's really whenever you see people that have played with Lego a lot in their childhood, they're really good at being able to visualize something that's 2D into a 3D format,
I guess that makes sense.
which is what you're working with, because it's everything that you're all your like the carpet inspirations that you're getting are
Yeah,
all
that's because
2D,
that's the
right?
only creative part about it. Because like the motifs, it's not like I'm sitting down and copying exactly the motif,
No,
but
but that's the thing, right? You're getting inspiration.
imagination part, memories, things that,
Yeah,
but it's the translation into 3D. That's, I guess, the creative.
exactly. Because when I look at all the end games that you've created, none of them are really represented in a carpet. Like I don't go that, oh yeah, I've seen that bird in a carpet. Because even right now, when you put the images next to each other, the only thing I could see resembling the other one in the carpet is maybe the what do you call that? The crown on the head that is somewhat representative. Everything else is very different. Or the head of the bird, right? So
Hmm.
it's interesting to see that you have drawn inspiration from different things and then using your imagination and your memory and whatever it is, creating end games that are very successful in terms of composition, color.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, no, I love all this. And then also my other comment for you was that do you think your experience with music has given you enough patience to do such an amazing job with cleaning and finishing and also teaching that subject matter? Because
Absolutely.
okay, okay.
Practicing music is like, if you really want to perfect something, you
Yeah,
have to really work on little sections over and over and over. And you have to really make sure you do it efficiently, because if you repeat something over and over and you're not doing it right, then you're just making it worse. So you have to learn how to work on detail in an efficient way over and over
100%.
and over and over again. So
Yeah.
definitely.
That's why I was telling you that it's always interesting for me to hear people's backgrounds and how they ended up here because everybody coming from a because I'm a very honest person, but cleaning and finishing was probably the most difficult area for me when I was at school, as I think it is for 80-90% of people, because I was so impatient,
Mm.
because I was so obsessed with the end game that once it came to cleaning that end game, I was already done. I was
Yeah,
like,
because you
no,
the goldsmithing, you've done so many challenging
yeah.
things, you've gone through fire and blood and sweat, and then now you have to finish
Now
it.
you have to, but that's where I've seen people from coming in from two fields, dentistry backgrounds and music. When they come in this field, finishing and polishing is like, okay, it's hard, but we're trained to do it because we have to go back over and over, and that's music, right? Because I've had a few musicians in the family, and you have to play the same piece for maybe 50 times, and it drives you and everybody that you live with absolutely bananas, but that's what you have to do. You have to get it perfect, and then you have to go to rehearsal and do that over and over and over again. So I guess you naturally sort of develop this ability to be able to take that agitated side off when you're like, I'm done with this, like me. And you're like, and it's funny because finishing and polishing has taught me patience now. I was a very impatient person. I'm still working on that. But like
Trust me, I
patience,
am too. Like it's not easy for me either, but you know,
it's
you'll have to work.
it's gotten Lindsay's also asking, did you need the microscope for the online stones? Oh yeah, you already answered that. You said no, you don't need the microscope. It's better to have it, right? You said?
I have it, but it wasn't mandatory. Even like I have a micro ball like this little device that makes holding things.
Oh yes, right.
But there were people who didn't have a microscope and didn't have like these fancy devices, but they did the
But
course.
they still could do the
To
course.
learn a lot. He sends you little burnishers and little tools. So simple, but it makes a world of difference.
World of a difference, yes.
You will not regret doing it. I'm just saying
That's
that.
really good. That's good. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Because I know that that's an area that we teach a lot at school, but if you don't, it's one of those fields that if you don't practice after you leave, it's gonna get just difficult. So
Yeah.
I haven't had much. I just do tube setting because I love it and it's so easy and that's it. But all my other settings, I get either Jeju to do it, or a couple of other people in the city. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's something
Studying,
that
you
if
need extra
people.
training. It's impossible to learn
It's
reading.
definitely, yeah. I've realized that after you leave school, if you want to do your own gem settings, you definitely need extra. It's just not enough time, right?
Yeah.
It's something that you have to. People end up in that trade and just do gem setting. It's hard to be able to balance all of these
Yeah.
different parts of jewelry together, right?
Mhm.
And you're a magician for doing all of this by yourself, but I can't. But yeah, I think it's, and going back to what Rana was saying, that course by Stephen Webb, you said, right?
Yeah.
Online.
Do
So
stone setting. I can put it in maybe I can bring it up and show you later.
actually, if you don't mind sending it to me later, and I can put it in the once we upload it into YouTube, I
Yeah.
can put it in the
And
description.
I think after I did it, he actually started doing it in a North American time zone as well.
Oh, perfect.
After
So you don't have to get up at 3:30
like
in the
two,
morning.
3 times a year, I think. So you have to register on his website and then he will contact you. It's like 10
Yeah.
people at a time, so it's not like a big class, but
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so these were the animals. And then the tulip motif for some reason really stuck with me.
Yes.
So I did different renditions of the tulip. That's
Oh,
the
wow.
make of my brooch. I
Yes,
think
I have
it's
a
a little
brooch.
better than my student one.
Yeah.
A little cleaner. Just different. So I also not ashamed to say I made a mold of that head so that I can
Yes, and
do
now you have, yeah, so you can
different
reproduce
things
it.
with it.
Nothing
Um,
to be ashamed
a
of.
shorter version. I made one with a square stone. It sold before I took a picture of it, so I don't have that. But
Right.
so I can do different things without a stem, with a stem. I'm planning on doing different versions of it in the
Great.
future. But it helps to have that to
Yeah.
work with. And then, yeah, my different tulip friends.
Rana, what's the stone in the top left earrings that are a bit more curvy?
They are diamonds.
Oh, wow.
They're,
Okay. Yeah, those look very nice.
they're very
Okay.
milky
Yeah.
rose cuts.
Yeah, rose cuts.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, so rose
Really great
cuts,
setting.
it looks big, but it's not as much carat weight, so they weren't super expensive, and they're milky, so they're kind of trendy back then. Um, not super expensive, but yeah, it's adds a lot of sparkle.
Rana, hold on, I have a question. What type of pin back do you use for the beautiful tulip pieces? Lindsay's asking.
It is, so I hand make that. I actually have one of them. Yeah, I can all right, I'll just pull one out. It's just a tube,
It's a yeah.
and I also do a piece of tubing at the bottom. So the short one here, that one is a brooch pendant. This is the first time I tried my hand at that. It's actually working, but so I'll show you that one. So that's the pendant part, and then that's a piece of tubing and another piece of tubing.
Oh, okay, so it goes down.
You can like that because if it's a pendant, then you see it from front. So
Yes.
I have to kind of go around. But I usually do it like that, a single pin with a piece of tubing. Um, so to make it tight, I actually solder two pieces of small tubing inside each other. So the inside is like a 0.7
Right.
and it has a good robust wall. Um, and yeah, it's really super simple in that. Um, all right. And this is another tulip that I've done more recently, all the setting. It's one of my favorites, so I put it in there. I made two of them and they look identical, but I'm not planning on remaking it. Uh,
These are
was
beautiful.
the piece. I made one version in silver, simple, and the other one with black diamonds. The pave. So I'm
Mm.
taking things as opportunities to practice setting now. So whatever I can pave, I just pave.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, and yeah, and the texture is my new favorite texture, so I'm putting it on everything. But yeah, like that here is also like a few pieces, mostly all cat, but they all had to be put together. Um,
That's what it was gonna. Oh, I see it now. I see it on the right hand side picture. It's the same texture as in the leaves, right?
as in the leaves.
Yeah, like the little texture that you have in the
Oh
leaves.
yeah, yeah, the
Yeah,
texture, yeah,
around the stone setting, basically.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
So this piece, I mean, you can reproduce it easily because like these pieces are cat, but this is one, two, three, four, five different pieces that
Right.
are together.
So you have to
The
assemble.
top of that bezel is gold, but the rest is silver. So I had
Okay.
to make
Okay.
solder. So it's a bit of a like fabrication going on. I had to rivet the pieces together at the end. So that's always fun.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I went on a tangent with triangles. I made this piece for one of my friends from Laurentian. And I really liked, I had an extra setting, and that became a whole thing. So the
Oh, okay.
itself, became a shape that I became kind of obsessed with. So I keep uh, putting that shape in different things. Like these ones are just taking on a life of their own. The butterfly is the latest one. So I love playing around with it. I don't know what it is about that shape that really appeals to me. And, you know, it lends itself to so many different things and you can put it together, make a little thing or just be abstract. So I'm experimenting with that.
That's great. I really like these. And if you again, if you know how hard it is to set that, what is that shape called? Oh
Oh,
my God.
the trillion?
Yes, Chilean. Yes. Yeah, that one is
So bad. It's better
definitely.
than a square.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because yeah, it just petrifies me. Just getting that to sit flush and then having to do the borders and stuff is anyway.
Well, I can do it for you anytime you need.
Great, perfect. Yes,
For
that's my
you, not for that. Because people ask me if I set for other people, and the answer is always no, because my own work, but
Well,
I don't
I'm
want
I'm
it because
honored.
of someone else's things. Yeah. So then I did some more geometric stuff. Like I keep playing with that flat facet.
Yeah.
Really love the way it light reflects from that. I had that picture up in at the Toronto Outdoor, and a lot of people would ask me this, like, can I see that ring? And I'd show it to them, and they were like, "Oh, I thought it was black and white." I'm like, "No."
Oh, they thought it was, yeah, that's
You would
always the
like
picture, yeah.
turn it, and then they could see that that's
Whatever people see, yeah, they just believe it is. And yes, I know.
yeah. That's another ring, same concept. I just keep playing around, and yes, finishing all of those is kind of
It's yes, this is again a nightmare for me.
yeah. And
And
then
these are mostly custom, right? Oh no, you're getting to your
no,
custom. right
Yeah,
now.
these
So,
are the customers, and it's interesting. I don't really do a lot of rings, but a lot of my custom work tends to be rings. I don't know
yeah.
why people love rings so much.
Well,
Um,
it's I think it's one thing that people are willing to because the ring you see, right? All the time. Um,
yeah, most people really love wearing rings. I don't
yeah.
because I guess I work with my hands, so it's hard to, I always have to take them off. So I'm not a ring person myself, but I always love seeing them on people's hands because we also don't have the prettiest finger.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have the greatest hands in the world.
Yeah.
But I think that's what most of us, or most of my custom projects are also rings
Mhm.
because people often say that they do find rings that they like, but it's not their size and it's hard to get it resized, whatever. So they always come back for custom rings and they have ideas to make. So
Yeah. And
great.
it's a lot of fun. Yeah, but for some reason when I design things, it always happens to be pendants or earrings.
Or
That's
earrings.
something that
Okay.
I want to push myself to do more rings.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that kind of sums it up. So I do some custom work, I design my own stuff.
You teach.
Once in a while, I venture into setting and yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks for going through all of these beautiful works. And it's, as I said, like it's always so nice to hear um your, you know, adventure through where you've came. And I honestly always in the back of my head, I was like, Rana comes from a music background. So that's why she has so much patience to create such an incredible um great finishing work where I was like, okay, we all need to practice in the patience department for that specific reason.
Thanks.
So thank you.
My
Let me see
pleasure.
if there's any other questions. Any questions or comments or concerns or last spoken words before we let Rana go? Oh, and it's 7:30. Okay. Um,
Thanks for listening, everybody.
beautiful work, Rana. Lace says
Yay.
beautiful work. Yeah, really great work. And I'm really great that you shared
Thank
all the
you for
little.
having me. It's nice to share it with
No,
people.
because I personally love your work, but I also know I know your character and I know that a lot of people are drawn to how you work. And you're also what I really like about you, which you also brought to the table here, is that you're honest about everything and you're not fluffing things up. You just give it as it is. And that's something that I often find is missing in conversation is that you showing us your first square setting versus sorry your first trillium or square versus the last ones that you say, hey, like we all weren't born perfect
Yeah.
and we weren't perfect when we went to the program. Everybody has their own flaws. Everybody's going to develop into something. You're going to find your niche just as you did, just as I did, just as everybody else in this room has or is going through. So it's really nice to hear that aspect of your story. And thanks for sharing it. Thanks for being honest about it. Oh, everybody's sending you love. Thanks, Rana. Love your work so much. Thanks, Rana. Love to see more of your work. That was from Farah. Hi, Farah, Allison, Andre, Lindsay.
Anytime.
Thank you. You had a big following, Rana. Look at you. Okay, if there is no questions or concerns, we're gonna send Rana to have her dinner and then go on her beautiful walk.
Yeah,
Beautiful
I think
day.
everybody should. It's really beautiful out
Yeah,
here.
everybody should. If you're in Toronto, it's a great time to go outside for a walk after this beautiful talk. And I'm sure, I hope, Lindsay, I think you're the only person who's not in Toronto right now. So I hope it's nice where you are. Uh,
Hopefully Lindsay and
oh,
Allison
Alan's
is in
here
New York
too. Hi,
City
Alan.
also. So hopefully it's nice for you guys too.
Yeah, really, really, really great conversation. I really enjoyed that. Thank you,
Thank
Alan.
you, Joshua. Yeah, me too. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Good. It was our pleasure. We all thank you from the Melody team, and thank you everybody who was here. My next guest is going to be Chantel Gushu from Halifax, Nova Scotia. So tune in there. We're gonna give you the date. We still haven't settled on a date, but yeah, she's also gonna be another great guest. Thanks, Rana. Go enjoy your
Thank
dinner
you.
and enjoy your walk tonight. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, but I'm just gonna wait until everybody. Maybe fangat Tagalog ko lang.
Oh.
So, hold on. Let me stop recording.